Whether free or paid, you obviously want to get the best possible quality to host and start creating your Minecraft server. And that's why today I'm going to introduce you to Ministrator, which I've personally used for all my servers for years and have come to trust after trying pretty much every Minecraft host you can find on the internet. Whether it's customer support that completely ignores you, gives you generic answers, machines that lag as soon as you start them up, or even, in the worst cases, scams where you're sold completely misleading machines. I'm going to try to show you everything that led me to discover Ministrator and why I ultimately made the decision to run my servers with them. You'll find the host's link in the description, and by using the code FOXSTRAY, you can get up to 40% off depending on the duration you choose. And you can see that it gives you quite a significant saving. So it's really a great deal. Don't hesitate. On top of that, it helps support the channel, and for you, well, it means saving money. So honestly, it's a win-win for everyone. Now let's start by answering a simple question. Why Ministrator? Why not Aternos? Why not Box2Play or MGServe or any other Minecraft host? So just know that this video is not sponsored, so I'm going to speak freely about my own experience, and maybe you have had different or similar experiences. So feel free to share them in the comments. But in any case, I'm going to share my own feelings with you because, well, I've been creating Minecraft servers for over 9 years. And honestly, I've been able to try out pretty much every host on the market, so I think I'm in a position to give you a bit of a personal opinion on the subject. To start with, Ministrator is a premium host, which means you'll find paid plans, free plans, and trial offers depending on your needs and what you want to do on your server. So what does premium service mean? It means you're really going to get a quality service, and we'll start by talking about the machines themselves. Whereas most hosts will actually rent you machines that are shared with other users, where your RAM and CPU are limited, etc. Depending on your machine's usage to save as much money as possible, at Ministrator, you'll get exactly what you pay for. That means we give you dedicated CPU cores, so on your machine's processor. We give you RAM. So what does dedicated RAM mean? It means that, just like with the CPU, it's truly RAM that belongs to you. It's not shared with other users, and if you use less than 8 GB of RAM, we won't reduce the amount of RAM on your machine to save resources. It's really your machine, your RAM. It's what we give you as if you had your own dedicated machine. And so that's really great because most hosting providers will try to cut corners, save money, and maximize their profits. But since Ministrator is a premium service, we don't do things the same way. By the way, I just noticed there's a little jab at the so-called unlimited alternatives, saying this does better than unlimited. That's a reference to OMGServe, which I actually had the chance to test. So, to take OMGServe as an example, let's take a look at what they offer and why, in fact, the price isn't justified compared to the quality you get from this kind of host. Even without talking about customer support, etc., which can really be not great, or the control panel, or all the little extras you get with a host, let's just talk about the machines themselves. So you already have a 4.7 GHz CPU, which is a Ryzen 7 5800X. So that's cool, they tell you a bit about what you're getting. But first of all, they don't tell you if it's dedicated. So when it comes to your CPU cores, you don't even know how many you have. And above all, you don't know if there is 1 person, 10 people, 100 people on this CPU, or if it's just for you. So that's already completely vague and opaque. Secondly, it's the same thing with RAM. It's unlimited and you don't know if it's dedicated to your server or not, or rather dedicated to your use or not. And in my opinion, that's absolutely not the case. You can check for yourself. If it were the case, it would be written. In fact, they would brag about it because it's something that would make them look good to say so. So if they're not saying it, it's generally because it's not the case. So unlimited RAM, what does that even mean? So I'm skimming through their article on what do you mean by unlimited RAM? Basically, unlimited RAM means that OMGServe will provide the RAM you need to run your server. So what does that roughly mean? If your server uses 2 GB of RAM, they give you 2 GB of RAM. Does that mean you're going to pay less? Not at all, because the plan costs 16 euros, which is extremely expensive since it used to be 9.99. And so they're going to give you 2 GB of RAM. If you use 4, they give you 4. If you use 8, they give you 8. So let's get back to the article. Most Minecraft servers, and you can check this for yourself, very rarely use more than 10 GB of RAM, which means you can have 25 people on one machine. So if we assume that everyone uses 10 GB, you can have 25 people. I suppose there are actually a lot more than that because there are many servers that run on around 4 to 6. So I assume there are a huge number of people on their machines, and so you can push the RAM up to more than 256 GB. But does that mean you're going to reach that amount? No. Does that mean it's dedicated? No. Does that mean you're going to use them? Not at all. So all these little details need to be taken into account, and that's really where Administrator stands out. Because for 16 euros, you get a Mailbox 12, you get 3 dedicated cores, so you have a pretty decent CPU, and you get 12 gigabytes of dedicated RAM. And honestly, for everyone who has tried the offers at Administrator, the Mailbox 12 is worth far more than an Extreme Minecraft server at OMG Serve. Now, how do you choose your machine? Let's quickly talk about a tool that's really great, which I love to use even though I already know from experience what kind of machine I need for my servers. It's simply the buying guide. So as you can see, it's not just for Minecraft. In fact, these are machines they rent out. So actually, they can pre-install pretty much any games you want on your server, and then you can run Rust servers, DayZ servers, and so on. Since we're interested in Minecraft, we're going to click on Minecraft, and now, what's the goal here? The idea is that you want to create a server, and they're going to recommend exactly the machine you need to run your server. So no unnecessary spending, and no spending on a machine that won't have enough performance for what you want to do. Here, you really get the perfect advice to choose your machine. So, my server is going to be running all the time. We're really going to start with a typical server, so a server like most people who create servers would have. These are going to be small community servers, so 10-20 people with, I don't know, around 50 plugins, etc. So we'll start from that perspective and see what they recommend for us. So 10 to 20 players. I want to play without a mod pack, so we're going to play on version 1.21 with plugins. Let's say more than 30 plugins, because that number goes up pretty quickly. And look, they're recommending at least the Mailbox 12 for us. And if you really want top performance, you can go for the Mailbox 12 Perf, which has a much more powerful CPU, much more powerful RAM, and is really great. Now this one is more than enough. You can even get it, try it out, see how it performs in game, check the performance, run some tests, and so on. And then upgrade to a slightly better machine without any problem. You're never stuck on that point. Administrator takes care of migrating your machine data instantly, so really, you have nothing to worry about there. So honestly, just assume that the Mailbox 12 is more than enough. You can absolutely go with this plan, which will be much more efficient than, for example, an Extreme server at OMG Serve. And honestly, if you're thinking, well, maybe OMG Serve isn't that bad, then go ahead and try it out. They even have unlimited plans at OMG Serve, which are kind of the same idea. You get unlimited RAM, unlimited CPU. Honestly, it's just nonsense. Try it out for yourself and make up your own mind. In any case, having tried out pretty much all the hosting providers myself, I have a bit of an idea of what they're like. Now, let's talk about the free Minecraft server hosting service, because that's something Administrator offers, and it's actually pretty cool for people who don't necessarily have money to spend, and honestly, the performance is pretty good considering it's free. And that's not something you get with all free hosting providers. So, what does it offer you? Basically, you get 4 GB of RAM, a small CPU core, and a flex core, which is basically a core that will be added or removed depending on how much you're using your server. So that's just to simplify things a bit, and you also get an 8 GB SSD for storage, which is really great considering it's free. So you might ask me, why is this better than Aternos, for example? Because Aternos is still the main competitor among free servers. Everyone knows Aternos. So I did a bit of research, but I don't know exactly how reliable it is because I couldn't find any information. First of all, I find that it's extremely opaque on the Aternos website. They don't mention the performance of the free machines they offer at all, but apparently it's either 2 GB of RAM or 1.7, 2.6 GB depending on the source. A shared CPU, which is obvious, but they don't mention the number of CPU cores, so it's still pretty unclear. I tried to do a little research on Perplexity and I didn't find much. But in any case, if we're really talking about 2 GB of RAM compared to Administrator, it's ridiculous because you actually get double that with Administrator, and that's really super cool. So there you go. If you want to set up a small server with friends and you don't particularly want to make it public, if you just want to run some tests or install plugins, honestly, a free server Administrator is really great. It lets you try out how everything works, test the control panel, and on top of that, you still get support. Of course, it's not a priority support because obviously paying customers are prioritized, they've paid and expect something in return, but still you'll get a bit of help if you need it. So if you want to learn how to create a Minecraft server or something else, it can really be a good starting point. So now, once you have your machine, let's talk about the panel because what they've done is really amazing, and on top of that, they've recently redesigned the panel. It's really beautiful. So you should know that at Administrator, you actually have a box system. When you buy a Minecraft server, you don't just get a server, you literally get a box, a machine that allows you to create as many servers as you want inside it. Of course, there are still some limits because, for example, here I have a Mailbox Perf 16 machine with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 4 CPU cores. And I can actually divide these 4 CPU cores and 16 gigabytes of RAM among different servers. So here you can see I have Dev 1, I have a server at 1.21.8, I have another more personal Minecraft server, I have another Dev server, and so basically I can create as many servers as I want. Of course, that's within the limit of how many CPU cores and how much RAM I have left. And here you can see that I'm using all 16 out of 16 and all 4 out of 4 CPU cores. So you can pretty much do whatever you want with this because there really are no limits. So for example, I can delete this server, my Minecraft server, I can absolutely delete it and then for instance create a Rust server or a Garry's Mod server on my box instead, and that's really awesome. Everything is completely automated, so you have access to databases, you can link your Minecraft server with web hosting if you want to create a website for your server. Here you have some small options to slightly upgrade your machine if you need more CPU cores, more RAM or more disk space. Now, let's talk about a really cool tool called SmartScan, which basically uses an artificial intelligence system to analyze your server and mainly looks at why your box is lagging. So I say server, but in reality it's more about the box itself. It's really about all the servers you have on your box. And so you can start the scan from here. It will take a look, analyze the consumption, the performance of your server, and so on. And then it gives you advice. So I overuse my server because I use all the RAM. I have 4 servers on my box, and basically the advice it's going to give me is to slightly upgrade my machine. Alongside that, of course, you have a whole range of monitoring tools, so that's really great. It keeps an eye on what's happening on your servers, like CPU usage and RAM usage. So you can see that my hard drive is getting pretty saturated. You have data about your players. So for me, these are test and development servers, so there is absolutely no data. So you have an analysis of disks, RAM, CPU, etc. over several time ranges. And this is really an exceptional tool for checking when your server is lagging, why, and so on, to do some quick analyses. It's really great. And then of course, to finish, you have a whole bunch of tools that let you customize your server a bit and work with other people on it, like adding sub-users. Check the activity history. If you have people messing around on your server, you can look in more detail at what's happening. So that was about the box system, a bit about how it works. Now, we're going to take a closer look at the server system. So here, I have a machine, which is my Minecraft server. I can rename it however I want right here. You have your support code, which I've hidden to prevent people from messing around. But basically, you have your code to provide when you ask for help on the Administrator Discord. Here, in the settings, you can adjust various parameters, enable PvP, block cracked versions, etc., which will let you customize your server a bit. Right here, you have your server files. So to fully customize your machine, you have your plugins here, your configs, and so on. Anyway, I'll let you check out my other videos on the topic because the purpose of this video isn't to show you how to create a server. Right here, you have your FTP access to connect to your server and start modifying it. Right there, you have your server backups. Be aware that there's one every hour, so it's impossible to make mistakes when handling things. You have a huge number of backups. You can automatically restore them, download them. You can even create some manually, so it's really great. This is their best system. Having backups this frequently is awesome. Right here, you have scheduled tasks, so you can set up commands to be executed. So this is ideal if you want to allow your server to organize events or things like that, which will actually need tasks that are scheduled in advance. Here you have the monitoring tool. So unlike earlier, which was really for all the boxes, here it's really for this specific server. So take a closer look at what's happening on it. Here you have the entire installation system for your server. So I already had some files because I had already started this server at the beginning, but you can absolutely start creating your server from scratch. So you'll arrive on this page, you go to version, and you can install a vanilla version or a modded version right here with the predefined mod packs. So you can install your Bedrock or PocketMine server depending on your preference. Link servers together with BungeeCord and Velocity. Play with plugins using Paper and Spigot servers. So once again, you can play with mods, but here it's a bit more flexible. It's up to you to create your server from A to Z with Forge, NeoForge, Fabric, and ArcLight. If you also want to add plugins on top of that. Next, there's a really great plugin installation system because unlike some other hosts, it clearly shows you which versions are available for the plugin you're installing. Because often with more traditional hosts, you'll click on install, it will install the plugin, and then you'll realize that it just doesn't work because it's not the right version for your server. But here, you know it works because, for example, if my server is on 1.21, I click on install, and if it does not say 1.21, So actually it's pointless. You don't click and you look for a plugin that's compatible, like this one for example, VeinMiner. It's fully functional, it's written right there. In the same way, you have the same thing for mods, whether it's Fabric, Neoforge or Quilt. So you can install whatever you want on your server. And finally, to finish, this is a small paid option that's automated and available directly through the panel. So you can have a map of your server like this and see the people walking around on it, see the constructions being built, etc. So it's really a nice little addition. There you go, you don't have to get it. There are quite a few servers that like to have this kind of little map, so it's a pretty nice option that's offered to you directly on the host's panel. And so, we'll finish with the support service system, because that's also one of Ministrator's big strengths. When you have a problem, they respond quickly. Of course, there are opening days. They're off on weekends, you know, it's still a business. So there are times when you can't get help, but if you're on their Discord, there's a whole community ready to help you. So don't hesitate to join it. Right here in support, you just have to click on support assistance, or if you don't have Discord, you just need to fill out the little form right there. And then they'll get back to you by email. So there you go, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that it helped you make the right choice when creating your server. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments of this video or directly on my Discord, Foxio, which you'll find in the description. Don't hesitate to subscribe to follow my future videos, which will teach you how to create a Minecraft server from A to Z, step by step. With that, this was Fox. Bye everyone!